important work.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, and good afternoon, Ms. Telford. Thank you for your attendance today. Ms. Telford, did the Prime Minister receive a series of briefings from Canada's National Spy Agency beginning in January 2022 on Beijing's election interference, specifically in the 2019 election?
I believe you received from the National Security and Intelligence Advisor and from the Privy Council Office a listing of briefings that the Prime Minister has received on the subject.
Yes, you're referring to the document that was undertaken by the National Security Officer, Jody Thomas, on March the 1st of this year that we received this morning at 10 o'clock in the morning. And I've looked at this, and there's no indication about any briefings in January of 2022. But noteworthy, the commentary on the beginning of page number 1 indicates the list is not exhaustive, as the records are not complete in all cases. And this only represents formal briefings as opposed to informal briefings. So I'll ask the question again. Did the Prime Minister receive a series of briefings beginning in January 2022 on Beijing's election interference in the 2019 election? Yes or no?
I think, Madam Chair, the answer may have been given in the question, which is that in the preamble in the memo, it talks about how there's all kinds of conversations that go on about some of these topics that can't all be captured in terms of formal briefings, and you have the list of formal briefings that are provided in the memo.
So I could take that as a yes, that he would have received some informal briefings in and around that time frame, January of 2022, as reported by Global News on November the 7th of 2022.
I can't speak specifically to what was discussed in briefings over the course of those months and whether it was related to what was in the reporting.
Again, Ms. Telford, I'm not asking for specifics. I'm asking you to confirm that is more than likely, in fact, it did happen, that he would have received briefings along those lines in January of 2022, notwithstanding that it's not repeated in this particular document that we got today.
Did and more than likely, in my experience, are different things. I think it is quite possible that there were discussions throughout that time period around foreign interference. As I think the Prime Minister said yesterday, we have talked about these subjects a lot over many years because there's been a lot of activity and a lot of work that this government has done on this front.
And the Prime Minister was briefed on China's Toronto consulate directing a large clandestine transfer of funds to at least 11 federal election candidates and numerous Beijing operatives who worked as their campaign staffers. That was the subject matter of those series of briefings in January of 2022. Are you confirming that?
No, Madam Speaker, I can't, unfortunately, I can't provide information about what I have or have not been briefed on in an intelligence setting or in a public setting about intelligence. But what I can remind the members through you, Madam Chair, of is what the NSIA said when she was here, actually on March 1st at this very committee, and she said the connection that was being made between 11 candidates and funds that you're describing, that was inaccurate.
If this was completely inaccurate, if this story of Global News on November the 7th was completely inaccurate, you would have said so, your Prime Minister would have said so, your members of Cabinet would have said so. So I'm asking you specifically, apart from the issue of clandestine transfers to 11 candidates, the other subject matter of those briefings, is that false? Is that inaccurate in any way?
I'm sorry, you might have to clarify the question, Madam Chair.
You've highlighted that there was an issue with respect to the Prime Minister never receiving any information respect to the transfer of monies to specific candidates. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about the broader description of evidence and intelligence that was shared with the Prime Minister in a series of briefings in January 2022, as reported by Global News. Is that inaccurate?
So, Madam Speaker, I can't speak to the reporting that Global News spoke about. I can speak to my experience, which is that there have been a lot of conversations over many years. It's why all the different mechanisms that I outlined were put in place leading into the 2019 election and the 2021 election. There were further steps taken in between those two elections.
Thank you. Did the Privy Council Office prepare a document entitled Special Report, date stamped January 2022? Yes or no?
I can't speak to that
Why?
because I'm not sure what document you're referencing. If you can give me some more information, I probably still won't be able to confirm whether or not it's something I saw, but I'd be happy to try.
It was reported in the Global News of March the 8th. It was reviewed by Sam Cooper, the reporter. It was date stamped and finalized, suggesting it was intended to be read by the Prime Minister and senior aides, including yourself. It was derived from 100 CSIS reports from investigations beginning in January 2019 and produced by the Intelligence Assessment Secretariat, a division of the PCO. It was a part of a series of briefings beginning in January 2022, again confirming the large clandestine transfer of funds earmarked for the federal election from the consulate in Toronto, which transferred that funds to an elected provincial government official via a staff member of a 2019 federal candidate. You are responsible ultimately for the PCO. The PCO is the arm of the Prime Minister. It's his own department. They report to you. You control the PMO. Are you suggesting that this special report, as prepared by the Intelligence Assessment Secretariat, did not occur?
Okay, Ms. Telford, sorry, before I continue, I think as members of Parliament, we've all served in the House. And when you suggest you were referring to the chair in this role.
Yes, I
Mr.
am.
Prock, you are referring to me.
No, I'm not referring to you. Through you, Madam Chair.
I was hoping so. I did
Through
not
you.
hear those important through you two
Yes,
words.
thank you.
But I did appreciate for the most part the exchange. And I think it was nice that we were able to let pauses so the interpreters can do their work. But if we were going to be at a spot that we are perhaps putting words in other people's mouths, then I need us to go through the chair.
Right. Madam Chair, will you allow the witness to answer the question?
It will be coming out of possible later time, but yes, I would love to do that. Ms. Telford.
So I should answer now? Okay. I just want to clarify because you, through the chair, the member was asserting a number of things about what I do, and I want to go back to what I said in my opening statement about my role. The Privy Council Office does not report to me. I manage the Prime Minister's office. I do, however, work very closely with the Privy Council Office, and there's some extraordinary public servants in there, including one who reports directly to the Prime Minister, the National Security and Intelligence Advisor. And I want to remind the room again, Madam Chair, of what she said, which was that the connection that was being made between the 11 candidates and essentially much of what you're asserting there was inaccurate.
Thank you, and I appreciate you keeping that brief because I do try to make sure that the time of the question answer are the same. And I will